Welcome students, I am Dr. Ravi Jaiswal from LBS Group of Institutions, Lucknow. I am working as associate professor in the Department of Management Studies. Today we will be taking the topic organizational buying behavior and organizational buying process. This topic is the part of the paper B2B and service marketing. The paper code is KMB and MK03. In the market there can be or there are two types of the buyers. First buyers are the people or the individuals who consumes the goods by themselves or by their family members, and the second type of the buyers are the buyers who uses the who make their buying just to make or produce some other goods or the services, and they are different from the consumer buyers and they are called as the organizational buyers. The organizational buyers or organizational buying behavior is can be termed as the business buying behavior, and behavior of organizational buying products or services, it is different from the consumers who buy the goods, and in terms of usage it is different. Basically the organizational buyers they buy the goods, they purchase the goods for resale purpose or for the production purpose, production of goods or services in their organizationals or to conduct an organization's operations, means providing the services. We can see there may be different kinds of organizational buyers. It may includes the producers, resellers, institutions, means private institutions, and government organizations. Producers are the people or the organization who manufacture the goods or services, and they make their buyings for this purpose only. They are called as the producers. Second are the resellers. Resellers are basically they are the traders. They buy the goods and they transfer the goods as it is to the other consumers, to the other buyers, and by this they are known as the resellers. There may be wholesalers, retailers, dealers or distributors like this. There may be another category of the organizational buyers. They may be the private institutions like the hospitals, institutes, the other organizations they who provides the goods or services to the end users or the consumers or the followers. There may be the fourth category which can be called as the government organizations. Government organizations are the also organizational buyers, because they buy the goods and they forward the goods as it is or by manufacturing or converting them into some other goods or the finished goods. And there may be the different ministries, there may be the different departments in the government. They may buy the goods and they may use by themselves, or they may provide the goods or services to the other consumers like the citizens of the nations. Different definitions of the organizational buying behavior have been given by different authors. According to Pete Bennett, organizational buying behavior is the decision making process by which a buying group establishes the needs for goods and services and identifies, evaluate and choose among the alternative brands and suppliers. See, Mr. Bennett has given the organizational buying behavior definition, and he focuses on the different steps or different activities of the organizational buying process, how the individuals or group they go through with the need identification and how they make their ultimate purchases. Means they go through the identification of the needs, then after that they evaluate the alternatives, and choose the best alternatives and select the suppliers, and after selecting the suppliers they make the purchases. Second definition can be taken by the Mr. Pride and Farrell. They defines the organizational buying behavior as the purchase behavior of the producers, government units and institutions and resellers. Means they both focuses on the different buyers of the organizational buying. They focuses on the producers, government units, institutions and resellers. By these two definitions we can see there are two basic aspects of the organizational buyings. First is the who are the buyers, and second what are different steps that can be selected, that can be adopted for making the buying behavior. There may be certain features for the organizational buying behavior. These features are different from the consumer buying behavior. Consumer buying and organizational buying is different by, we can differentiate it in these two terms, these two behavior by these 7 features. In organizational buying there are few buyers, because in the market we can see the consumers are large enough. There may be different categories of the consumers. We can make different segments of the consumers, and in each and every segment there may be the millions of the consumers. But can we say the same thing with the organizational buying? No. In organizational buying there are few buyers who satisfy the needs of the ultimate consumers by acquiring the goods or services and providing the ultimate consumers the final goods for their use. Second feature is the close relationship. There is basically in organizational buying there is the requirement of the close relationship between the buyers and sellers, because in general buyers and sellers are in long relations for making the transactions, so as to have the ultimate benefit, complete benefits in the longer run. Therefore, there is a requirement of the close relationship, whereas in the consumer buying, consumers are less bounded with the close relationship with the sellers, because they may switch their buying their sellers with the very frequent manner, because as and when they think the product can be purchased or acquired from some other sellers in some less prices or in having some more quality, so they may switch easily, but it is not really true with the organizational buying. Third feature is the rational buying. Organizational buying is more or less a rational buying, because there is the less element of the emotions. They go through certain logics, they go through the organizational buyers go through their basic requirements. If they can be fulfilled by their sellers, organizational sellers, they will go through with the transaction, otherwise they will not. Next is the direct channel. Generally in organizational buying we can see there are no intermediaries between the buyers and sellers. That is why it is called as the direct channel, but there may be in certain cases there may be some agents or mediator, but it is very less common. So, there is direct channel between the buyers and sellers in organizational buying, but it is not true with the consumer buying. In generally in consumer buying, if we see, there may be the wholesalers, there may be retailers, there may be the dealers, there may be n numbers of people maybe to facilitate the consumers. Next is the purchase policy. Purchase policy is the important element of the important feature of the organizational buying, because Organizational buyers are involved in the buying of the goods, organizational goods, and for this purpose the organization generally has the purchase policy. What kind of goods should be purchased, what quality is required, and should be made purchased by the people of the organization, or they may change their policy time to time as per the requirement, but yes, they may have the purchase policy for the buying goods. Then there may be another element, that is timing complexity. In organizational buyings, there is timing complexity, because as and when the raw material or the semi finished goods or the services are required, they should be made available at that time only. We cannot say we cannot postpone the purchases of the organizations, but in consumer goods generally, if we think it is not required, we can postpone the purchases, we may postpone. It means the timing complexity is another feature of the organizational buying behavior. The last one in the list is the technical complexity. Organizational buying goes through the different steps, because there may be certain people involved in the decision making of for the buying of the organizational goods, and for that purpose there may be some procedures that they should follow, they have to follow, and that is why they call it the technical complexity. So, all these were the features of the organizational buyings. There may be the different types of organizational buying or organizational buyers. So, organizational buying is basically can be divided into 3 categories or 3 types. The first is a straight repurchase decision. See, here we focus on the repurchase. It means many times buying organizations make a purchase, and in future if they feel they are satisfied, they have no problem with the same purchases, they can repeat the purchases, and it depends on the satisfaction level. And for this repeat purchase, there are certain the decisions or decision of the straight repurchase decision may be influenced by certain elements. These are the quality of products. If the quality of product is good enough, and it can be bought again and again, then organizational buyers may go with the same quality products again and again or the next time. There may be the terms and conditions of the suppliers. Many times terms and conditions of the suppliers are so soothing, and they are so means they are at par with the organizational buyers. Then that time they think the same suppliers are the worth given order, and for that reason also the repurchase decision can be taken. Regularity in the supply of goods, this is the important factor. Straight repurchase decision is many times it is just made just because of the keeping the regularity in the supply of goods. If as an organization we frequently change the suppliers, then we may have the scarcity of the raw material, scarcity of the different parts that can be that can give the negative side to the organization. Then relation of the organization. See, if between the buyers and sellers, if there is good relation, then for sure good relation will be forcing the organizational buyers for making the straight repurchase decisions. The personnel with the suppliers, many times the personnel with the suppliers who are attached, who are associated with them, they may give the good environment or the good satisfaction or the good experience to the buyers. They also have these elements as a important factors. Then buying convenience. Buying convenience means the convenience. If again and again we are associated with the same suppliers, then many times in very short notice we can get the products that we are in the desired, in our desire, and it can remove the certain hurdles also, which cannot be may not be removed by the some new buyers. So, straight repurchase decisions are many times taken by the organizations if they are satisfied. Second are modified repurchase decisions. See, buying organizations they make evaluation of the past purchasing their decisions. Many times they feel they are satisfied, then it is okay. Many times they feel they are not satisfied. If they are not satisfied, they may modify their repurchase decisions, but still many times if they are satisfied, then also they may alter the specifications, means they may alter the specification, means they may alter the quality of the goods, they may alter the price of the goods, they may require the discounts or some other things that may be associated to the buyings. They may not require to change the organizational buying process again and again. In this modified repurchase decisions, process is not touched generally, only the specifications are the area where they work on. Third is the new purchase decision. New purchase decision means making the purchase of entirely new goods or services, entirely new products. It may be due to the changed situations. Situations may be changed in the market, maybe the change in the different segment, or there may be the change in the situations of the organization itself. So, at that time they may require to go through the entirely new purchase decisions, and for that reason they may require or they may go through the different buying process, means they have to design what process they have to follow. So, first was the straight buying repurchase decision, second is modified repurchase, third is the entirely new purchase decisions. These are the three types of the organizational buying. Now, we have come up with the organizational buying process. Organizational buying is quite different from the consumer buying process. Generally, in consumer buying, what are the steps there? It is a consumer buying behavior or the process of the consumer buying is quite simple. In this, there may be the identification of the needs, then finding the alternatives, then evaluating the alternatives, then making the final selecting the best seller, making the purchase decision, and giving the feedback. But in organizational buying, there may be certain more steps, and that is why it is a complex process. It is basically the process of organizational buying is the process of how companies or organization buy goods and services. Organizational buying is not an easy activity. What I have told you, it is not an easy activity, because most people think of it कि लोग समझते हैं कि भाई ये बहुत आसान प्रोसेस है, बस देना क्या है, जिसकी रिक्वायरमेंट है ऑर्डर दिया और वो हमारे पास ऑर्डर पहुंच गया. बट इट इज़ नॉट क्वाइट एज सिंपल एट इट इज़ लुकिंग. It requires different elements, and they may depend on the nature of the organizations. Different types of organizations, the different nature of the organizations may have different buying process, they may have different steps. The volume of purchase may be different for different organizations, the money involved in the purchase, it may be different, the time complexity may be different for the different people. And there are also no must follow steps for organizations to buy their requirements. Means typical steps are required steps, they are ideal steps, but there are no must follow steps. It is not required to follow all the steps. Many times the organizations exclude some of the steps for their convenience and as per their requirements. So, we will move with the organizational buying process now. The organizational buying process has certain steps or stages. It may be the first is the it is a typical steps typical process that may have the typical stages. First is the problem recognition, need description, product specification, supplier search, then proposal solicitation. After that supplier selection is there, then order routine specification, and finally the performance review is done. So, these 8 steps are the important steps that should a company follow, but yes, there is the flexibility in following these steps. Now, we will move with the first stage or first step of the organization buying process. Stage 1, it is the problem recognition. As consumer buying process, organizational buying process also has the same first step, because it is the problem recognition or the identification of the problem. Business may have different kinds of problems, and they have to go through the identification of all the problems, and which problem is the at high priority. They first satisfy those problems. So, this is the first stage of the business buying process, in which someone in the company recognizes a problem or need that can be met by acquiring a goods or a service. There is always a person who is authorized for making the certain decisions, and it is the work or it is the responsibility of that person that may be authorized for making such decisions, but the decisions can be taken many times. It can be taken by some team members or a committee, and many times the name of the those person is called is given as the purchase manager. So, purchase manager is the person who identify the problem or the requirements of the business. After making the recognition of the problem or the things required by the organization, they may go through the second stage, and that is the general need description. General need description is basically assigning the different quantity that may be required by different kind of the parts or the raw material or the basic requirements. So, in this stage business of the business buying process, companies go through with the giving the descriptions of the general characteristics and the quantity that may be needed by the organization at some moment. After providing the description, there is another requirement for the product, that is the product specification, which is the stage number 3. So, product specification is what it is providing the some more description or the more than the basic description of the product, which is called as the specification, means what quality is required, what at what price they can be asked for. There may be certain technical characteristics associated with the product. It may be the like किस रंग का चाहिए, कौन सा शेड चाहिए, क्या साइज़ चाहिए, उसके किस तरह के उसका शेप होना चाहिए, ये सारी चीज़ें it may come in the product specifications. The next stage is the supplier search. Once we have decided the product description and the product specification, means हमने सब decide कर लिया कि कौन सा product चाहिए, कितना चाहिए, quantity क्या होनी चाहिए, and what after quantity what characteristics is required. Making all those factors in a list, then we will go through the supplier search, means the next person, the person who will be supplying the goods to the organizations. At this stage, in the supply search stage, business buying process, in this stage the buyers tries to find the best vendor or the suppliers. It means the best person, the best vendor that can supply the goods. There may be many vendors, and all the vendors cannot be given the order at random. So, it is the important aspect of making the purchase decisions. Now, after searching out the specific vendors, we may go through the proposal solicitation, stage number 5. In this stage, the buyer invites the qualified suppliers to submit proposal. Here this word is important, qualified suppliers. It means all the suppliers may not be be associated with the organizations in the buying process. Only few suppliers, those who may meet the criteria assigned by the organizations, like what experience they have, what kind of services they are providing in the past, at with what other organizations they are having the relations. Like this, is by this we can select the qualified suppliers, and only to those qualified suppliers we may ask for the proposals, and after asking for the proposals we may go through the supplier selections. Means this is the stage in which the buyers review proposals, means all the proposals whatever the organization or the company may have obtained, all the proposals may go through critical scrutiny, and after scrutinizing those proposals, the best proposal will be selected, and or the supplier will be selected. After selection of the supplier, then the second last stage, stage number 7, is the order routine specification. Basically this stage is the what? It is the actual purchase decision, in which the buyer writes the final order with the chosen suppliers. अब क्या है? Writes the final order. What in this, the listing is, what listing is there, what listing listing these technical specifications, quantity required, specifications, expected time of delivery, and other aspects like return policy क्या है, उसकी warranties क्या है. Like this, order routine specification can be written, and after having or making the actual purchase, next stage is the performance review. In this stage, the final stage, the buyers rates its satisfaction level with the suppliers, and after rating the satisfaction level, whether it is 1 or 5 or in between these two these two numbers, then there will be decisions of making the next purchase or discontinue the purchase. It was all about the organizational buying behavior. There are certain references with which you may go through. Thank you, and very soon we will be coming with the next topic.